Welcome to the Creative Business Community Podcast, where creativity meets business. I'm Erin Madeley, and each week we'll share stories, tips, and inspiration to help you grow your creative business. Let's dive in.
Hey everyone, it's time for the podcast. I don't know why I started it that way today. Welcome everyone. We are back with the amazing Renee.
Hello.
If you've missed having Renee on our podcast before, she is our amazing PR and marketing coordinator, and she knows all kinds of things about all kinds of things. So we've had her come in to talk to us today about AI. Yay! So AI is unfortunately something that we can't ignore anymore. It is here. It is very clearly here to stay. And so we need to know about it. So we thought we'd get Renee to come in, chat to us a bit about AI and how we can maybe use it in creative small business and whether or not it's something to be threatened by. But thanks for coming to talk.
Thank you for inviting me.
So, talk to us a little bit now about what's going on with AI, because it's not just ChatGPT anymore, is it?
No, AI tools are everywhere. I'm sure you've seen them popping up more and more, even just like in your emails, and there's like different random places. AI tools are popping up and giving us suggestions, whether it is, in Canva, it is in, your scheduling softwares.
When you search online for things,
the
first thing
Google,
that you see is
AI responses. So it's definitely everywhere, and it's just how do you use it and what it is good to be using it for, and maybe where to be a bit more cautious, I guess.
Yeah. So what are we going to be talking about today?
So I think we're going to be talking about mostly how we can use AI to help your small business, but I think, working with a lot of creatives, the question is, there is a lot of negativity towards it and a fear of how it's going to threaten their business, particularly with artists and things like that.
Yeah. Definitely there are a lot of artists I know who feel really strongly about people using AI, and I think a really great example that happened recently within the last month or so was that trend of everyone having ChatGPT create a portrait of them or a caricature of them and all the things that they love. And I know I saw a lot of discussion around people not doing this because the AI has been educated by using stolen artwork.
Yeah, that's such an interesting one, because I actually had a woman who came to a recent workshop we did for social media, and it was for artists. So she was an artist. And she really liked the character that it created of her. She wanted to use it as her profile picture as an artist. And she asked me if that was okay, because I was saying, the best practice if you're an artist is probably have a picture of you. Yeah. Because then it's really important to see the face behind something that's handmade that you're purchasing. It gives more value to it for a lot of people. So I was encouraging them to find a picture, and she was just saying I don't like any pictures of myself, which a lot of people do struggle with that.
Particularly in creative small business. A lot of people who run a creative small business can tend towards maybe introverted and not liking having their face out.
Exactly. And so she brought that up, and she was like, "Oh, can I use this?" And I said, "Well, how do you feel about AI as an artist? Because it is something that is a bit controversial, and I think I understand why you want to use it, but think about." There is a chance that it can be quite off-putting for some of the people coming onto your page, particularly because you're an artist and you are selling your art, and then you're using a picture as AI as your first introduction to your page.
Yeah. What was her response to that?
She just said I just don't like any pictures, and I was like, look, just talk to someone in your family and just ask them to take a nice picture of you and out inside and nice lighting, and take a few. And do it with somebody you feel really comfortable with, so that you feel like, get them to make you laugh, and try to use that, because I think you could be shooting yourself in the foot a little bit by using that, particularly for an artist page.
Or if you don't want it to be an actual photo of you and you do like that style, go and find an actual artist who does that and ask them to like commission them to make something for you.
Yeah, absolutely. Or like get a photographer and do a branding shoot. It is something that will really, really like just give you so much self-esteem. That is their job, to make you feel confident, make you feel beautiful. It's not obviously in everyone's price range, but if it is something, if you're going to be doing, you know, your social media long term, and you as an artist or a small business owner are pretty integral to that business, it is worth going and doing that.
Yeah, and you don't just use those images once. You use them over and over again.
And over again.
A great example is on our social media with the creative business community. Like, you look at all the different podcast covers that we have. Yeah. We use images a lot.
So much. So much.
Yeah. So what would you say, I mean, we've obviously talked about that bit of a negativity and that negative association with AI, particularly around ChatGPT. But there are a lot of other AI tools around there. And even though, yes, there is this negative connotation with like it being educated by using stolen materials, unfortunately, even though that is a thing that has happened, there's not a lot we can do about it now. Yeah. At least not in the current legal world we live in. The law is always behind when it comes to catching up with technology. But what are some examples of tools that maybe we use as AI within what we're doing?
Primarily we do use ChatGPT a lot. But there is a lot of other ones, you know. I think it's Discourse is another one, and then like Adobe has their own AI tools that are specific for, you know, retouching images and things like that, in a way like photographers use it, but in a way that's, you know, removing someone from the background and then redoing the background, things like that. And same with Canva, it does have AI tools in a way that it's not specifically you know, language based, but like more image based. Yeah. And we do use those, you know, just for expanding a background and things like that. Yeah, but it's really about using it as a tool and to enhance, but not to create. Yeah. It's not the starting point, and it's not the finishing point. It is something in between we use to build on what we're doing.
Yeah. So why do you think it matters now in 2026 for people in small business and creative small business? Why do you think it matters that they use these tools that are available to them?
I think for time, honestly, like it is so time consuming to, especially when you have so much going on, to do all these things yourself. If we look at it from a perspective of social media, creating ideas and captions is really, really helpful for that, because it just does take so much time. One thing I use it for mostly actually is I'm atrocious at typing. Like I always just do typos. I type so quickly that I just make typos, and like I know what it's meant to say, but I find it easier to type out, do a big old brain dump of everything that's going on in my head. I pretty much kind of write a really, really fast draft of what I'm thinking about, and then I'll put in there like, expand on this, because I'm like, I need a bit more about that bit, but I'm not sure. And then I put it in to like ChatGPT or whatever, and then get to spit something out, and then I go through and go like, okay, yeah, that was right, this wasn't really right, I'll do this and use it for that. But kind of like as a brain dumping tool, like I don't go, give me ideas, like you can do that, but you kind of have to give it a direction. Otherwise, again, that's not it's taking information from elsewhere.
Yeah, I think I'm very much the same in terms of the way that I use ChatGPT as like a way of refining things. Yeah. So a really great example was earlier this week, I needed to write an email, and I was coming from a place of being irritated. So my language in this email that I wrote, I was like, it's probably a little bit harsh, but I was so irritated and grumpy, I didn't have the brain's capacity myself to soften my own language. Yeah. So I took my email and I was like, can you please soften the tone of this so it's not so harsh? And then, yes, it spit it back out, and I was like, yeah, I like the way that you said that, and I don't like the way that you said that. Yeah. So I think like you cannot use it as a be all and end all. You have to use it as, like we've said, it's a tool in your arsenal, but you can't just copy and paste everything out of it and then just send it without going through, reading back what it says to you. Make sure you take the time to edit it. Make sure that like the spelling and grammar is correct. It's not like US English versus Australian English, because there are differences. And the way, like, you want it to sound like you don't want it to sound like a robot.
Exactly. And that's really important. And also it makes up quotes. So whenever I try to use it to create like, I don't know, like a media release or like something like that, it will make up quotes. And I'm like, where did this come from? Like, what are you doing? And I have to like go back and be like, where did you get this from? Do not create false quotes that nobody said. So I don't know, like sometimes it can just do weird things that make no sense, and you just have to, and like just because ChatGPT said it does not mean it's true. Yeah. It is probably like go back and
it's the same with like your search engine answers. So like it's such a common thing, and like, so my son who is 12 going on 13, he's learning coding and he's getting ChatGPT to help teach him, and we cannot hammer home enough to him. We're like, it is not right. Yeah. It is not right. It is a tool. Yes, you can try it, but what it's telling you is not right. And like it's the same thing when you go online and you do a search. What AI spits out at you in a search engine, it's just pulling content from the internet and spitting it out and summarizing it. But it doesn't mean that the information it has pulled from somewhere is actually correct or factually correct. Yeah. And so like I hate it that it appears there, and like where I can with AI software and tools, I turn it off. So I just upgraded the software on my phone, and it's like, do you want AI to summarize your emails? Like, no, I don't want AI to summarize my emails. I would like to go and read my email myself, thank you. Yeah. Because the summaries can be wrong.
Oh, it's so funny. Like I have a group chats with my friends and I never go in them because it's just so much stuff. They're just like jibber jabber all day. They're all muted because I'm like, I just can't. And like, every now, I'm like, what are you guys doing? And then I, sometimes every now and then I'm like, I wonder what's going on. So I'll go in there and I just cannot read back everything. So I just get the AI to summarize it, and it's so funny the way it does it because it does it in such a like robotic way, I guess. It's like it takes out all of the like emotion and just, the humanness of the actual conversations and the context behind them, which, obviously as their friends, I understand the way they say things and the humor and things, whereas it just doesn't get that, and it's just so funny, and it pops up when you've done it so they can see that I've done it. We just like comment on what it does say and how inaccurate it is sometimes.
They're like, no, that never happened.
It's like that is not the context of that conversation.
So obviously, like we in the office do use ChatGPT a lot. I actually do need to go and look into if we want to continue using it or if we want to switch to something different. And that is an important thing to remember with any kind of software that you're using, is that they evolve over time, and you also need to look at the ethics of a company. Like, so ethically, some things have changed with ChatGPT. They've funded some things that I don't necessarily agree with. And so ethically, I'm now feeling really torn about continuing to use it. So it is a thing that I am going to go and look at changing to something different. Whether or not that is the same for everyone, that is like an individual choice. But you can also use it as an idea generator. Now, we did talk about like idea generation. You can't just be like, give me ideas. You need to feed it a prompt. And so, in terms of the way that you use these sorts of softwares, and what would you say is like one of the most important things to be aware of?
I think the first thing you should do is just try to have some of your own ideas, because otherwise you're training your brain not to work. Yeah. You're like training your brain to be lazy. And it's really interesting because like we've had a lot of interns that come in and, they've had access to AI pretty much their whole adulthood, like half the time, it's been around, and they've been using it for school forever. They've never actually, had to just brainstorm like on a piece of paper. You just write it down and you like do little shoots like that.
Your word cloud. And
I love doing that. That's how I come up with ideas. And like
bouncing ideas off other people.
Yeah, and that is such a powerful way. And, you know, I'll say, like, let's have a discussion. The first thing they do is go to, you know, an AI tool and ChatGPT or whatever and try and get the ideas come up. And they're not good. They're ideas that have been done a million times. They're not good. They're not tailored. They don't make sense.
And I guess that's the big risk of using these softwares, is that if you don't do it right, what it spits out is going to be the same thing it spits out to everybody.
Exactly. And that is not going to be... It's never going to be as personal to your business and your goals and the understanding that you have when you just, you know, do it yourself. I think that first initial stage should be, you really need to try to do it yourself just to keep your like ability to do it.
Yeah.
To maintain that creativity and get those juices flowing.
Yeah.
And then if you're really, really, really stuck, yes, but then make sure you don't just go with the first ideas. Maybe say, you know, oh, I kind of like this one, but I think I want it to be more focused on this part, and feed it and keep feeding it information until you get something you like. And sometimes I find, especially with ChatGPT, sometimes the more it just gets weirder. Like,
yeah. You're like, I've asked you to refine this, and instead you've like done something completely random.
Yeah, and then you're like, okay, I need to start from scratch again because like this is not working. And it's like, if you have never had the ability to, you know, do it yourself, then you're not going to be able to analyze it and understand that.
Yeah,
that's not good.
Yeah, and I think that's really important, that, you know, you're not using this to replace yourself. You're using it as a tool in your arsenal to, you know, check things or refine things, or like I used it to soften my language and tone, but then you still go back to it yourself. So you're starting with your own ideas, like, and we use it to help with ideas for like, we're like, we want to do a new kind of activation for something, and I'm like, these are the ideas I have. Can you give me another 10 ideas that are maybe low budget? And then it'll spit a bunch out, and I'm like, I like these and I don't like these, and that's not actually as doable as you think. But then you go away and you refine it further and you talk about it with other people, and
and that's it. It's information, you know, about like what is low budget and where it's getting these sources from. That may not be correct.
Yeah, and it may not be like a thing that you can do wherever you're located.
Yeah.
So sometimes it'll pull things up and be like, you should do this. And I'm like, that is not a tool that we have. That is something that is very much from a different place, or you know, it might be affordable in the US, but it's not affordable here in Australia, or, you know, all these different things.
Yeah. And that's one thing, actually, like if you were doing maybe market research or research for budgeting for an activity, or, you know, something like that, like it can be a really great starting point, but then you have to go and check all of those sources. And I always say, include links to where you found this information.
Yeah.
I always say that. And then sometimes I'll go to the link and it's like just completely inaccurate.
Yeah. Or it could be from a website that's no longer in use, because like once people stop using things, sometimes it just sits on the internet forever. Like if they pay for the domain name for 10 years and then after 2 years they're no longer used, then they haven't gone through the process of removing it. You know, it could pull completely irrelevant information. Yeah.
So it's like, it's a great starting tool, or, you know, particularly for softening a tone, or, you know, responding to things when you just don't have and to make sure you actually hit every point, because sometimes when you write things yourself, you know, you kind of like miss something or things like that.
Well, and it also is that whole thing of like if you don't have somebody around to cast a second set of eyes over something, right? So I definitely am somebody who, when you've written something yourself 100 times and you've spent a lot of time staring at the same thing over and over again, and particularly like when I'm putting in like a tender for something where I'm applying and saying, we can help you run this event, here's my thing, I've been staring at that for hours and hours and hours. And sometimes when you go back and you read through things, your brain will put in what you mean because it's your thoughts, it's your ideas, but that doesn't necessarily mean it's on the page. And it's not until you have somebody else who casts eyes over and you're like, hang on, this doesn't make sense, you've missed a whole sentence here or something. And so you can use it to like check those sorts of things as well.
Yeah, that is a great. And sometimes I'll use it if I have like setting something up, like maybe let's say it's like setting up a workshop, and I just need to make sure I've got everything I'd actually need. I'll just say like, okay, this is what I'm doing. What are all the things that I need to do ahead of this, and all the, maybe materials that I could possibly need for it, just so I don't forget something. Because sometimes they'll put something up that I'm like, oh, I didn't even think about that. Whoops.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. So we've talked about the text side of things quite a bit.
Yeah.
We should talk about design and visuals. Design and visuals, and more and more we're seeing AI used for these sorts of things. And I actually see it like I will be scrolling something on Facebook and I see somebody who's running an event and their promotion images have very clearly been generated by AI. Or I'm assessing applications from store holders and I'm like, this looks like it's been generated by AI. So
yeah, and it's like, it's particularly if you run meta ads, you'll see it when you go into the business, like the meta ad business suite manager, and they push you, they email you nonstop. You get them and forward them to me, and it's like, your ad could be 10% better if you just use AI tools. And I'm like, no, I'm sorry. Like what they're what the picture is so inaccurate to what our event is. Like sometimes they'll put, we have obviously our gazebos they'll put like an actual tent, like a circus tent. As like the AI generated background.
Yeah, no.
And I'm like, that's not
We're
even
not
close.
a circus.
It's not a circus. That is not correct. And you have to make sure to unclick all of these suggestions, because otherwise it'll automatically do it.
Yeah.
So you have to be really, really careful.
And so I think it's where, like, anytime you go to set up a new software that you're using, make sure that you go into the settings for it and check whether or not there are AI tools that are automatically turned on and included.
Yeah. I think Meta is one that it is always trying to turn on. And the way they word it is so confusing. Like they'll be like, are you sure you don't want to enhance your ad to reach more people and be better for your business? Like it doesn't say that exactly, but it's like along those terms.
Yeah.
So you're like, oh my gosh, do I want to? Like, I don't know. And a lot of small business owners, that's like where they get really confused, because they're getting all these, pop-ups and things saying like, your ad could perform so much better if you did this, 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 and this. But it is using AI generated content, AI generated text, and it often, in my personal opinion, for meta ads, the AI options that I see pop up are not good.
No.
I would never, 9 times out of 10, I would say that it would actually be a hindrance to your ad, despite what Meta thinks. I would not use them. And it's so, we were talking about, we have a client called Women on the Tools, and I do manage their Facebook ads, and their audience is very, very, very specific. It is women in the local area who can physically go to their courses. Meta does not understand that.
No.
So we have to go through and check constantly that we have all of the AI turned off.
Because otherwise it's going to send it to...
And you're spending money, because that's money. So that's money out of your pocket that is going to the wrong audiences.
And you have to remember that, like, in this very specific instance, maybe they have a suggestion, but they don't know your business as well as you do.
Yeah.
They don't know your audience as well as you do. And their goal is to make you spend more money.
Exactly. That is their goal.
And your goal is to spend less.
Yes. So, yes, like, these tools are created to help you, but they're also businesses.
Yeah.
And they also have the end goal of making more money too.
Correct. So we're now seeing a lot more AI-generated images, and, like, it's now coming into stock photography things as well, isn't it?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, and it's just, think about it for these sorts of things. Just, I can't help but think about it from like a moral perspective. And it's like the value of photography and artwork is going to, in a lot of ways decrease if people continue to use this sort of content. And I do believe that people are pushing back, and I see the pushback against it. Yes, you can do these AI generated images instead of using stock photography. But again, if you're a small business who hand makes their products or something like that, and you are using promotional images that are AI generated, think about your morals of your business and the ethics of your business, and does that align, and does it align with your customers' morals and ethics?
And I think that in creative small business, which is who we talk about, who we are talking to, you guys as listeners, you're creative small businesses, that's why you're here listening to the podcast. It definitely can be really off-putting.
Yeah.
And for me, I go, maybe you had a great intention with having this AI generated image, but it puts me off.
Yeah.
I will go away from what it is that you're pushing and promoting so much faster if I think that you're using AI generated imagery, because I go, well, then how do I know that what you're actually going to sell or the service you're actually going to provide is going to be of quality? Because I can't tell from the image that you've given me, because the image you've given me isn't you, it's not your work.
Yeah.
And then even with using these AI tools to refine things, you've got to be really careful about the way you do it.
Yeah. And you can still tell, like, people are like, oh, it looks so real, but you can just, it's like a feeling, you just know. Like, you just know when you look at something, if it is AI generated, and it does just give you that kind of ick, like the AI ick. And it does, if particularly in creative small businesses, it puts you off. It puts you off, and it makes you not feel like you can trust that business. So I would be wary. But in saying that, I think there is ways to use it that are helpful. Like, let's say, like packaging. Or an example of your artwork on a wall. Everyone knows that, like, that's an AI wall. Like, if you can actually put it somewhere and do it yourself, like, that would be ideal, but it's not always possible.
No, and in that instance, there are, like, these instances where you go, like a piece of artwork in a room. We have been educated enough to know that this is not a real room, but the artwork itself is real. So make sure that, like, when you're using that software, it's then not changing your artwork.
Yeah.
So it's about finding the balance in this example.
Yes, definitely. And it's like in planning, maybe packaging or different things. I think that is a really great way to use AI tools, because it can help you get to the look that you want, and then you can use that as a plan to create or something like that, in terms of using imagery and image generating tools. But it can't replace actually your product, you know?
No. And, you can use it to do things like if you need an image of your product on a white background. There's a lot of really great AI tools that will remove the background. You just have to be really careful about the way that you use it so that it doesn't alter your product in any way. And it can also be that, when you're using these sorts of tools and features, tell people that you're using them. You go, hey, this is my product. I just had AI remove the background, right? So it's also about transparency and communication, I think. And I think that's something that we're going to see more of, is that people start being a bit more transparent about their use of these softwares, is like, particularly around the visuals.
Yeah, I think so. And I believe, like, from what I've seen with Instagram, they are also on that. It was a platform that was developed originally mostly for photographers and artists. So they still have those, like, morals along. They want to support artists. They want to support photographers. So they are trying to develop different ways so that we can identify things that AI, you may have seen they have, like, buttons that say, like, this is AI generated, things like that. It's just, everyone actually using it correctly, and then also just knowing what to look out for yourself and how to use it.
Yeah. AI voiceovers. How do you feel about AI voiceovers?
I personally, like, the voice is not appealing to me.
No, and I remember I came across something the other day and I was like, they're trying to make this sound like Tom Hanks.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and I was like, I love Tom Hanks as an actor. But it was very clearly AI trying to sound like another actor. And even though the video was interesting, I was like, I can't watch this, because I know that you've used AI to try and sound like someone else who's a professional who does this sort of thing for a living. So if you are going to use like an AI voiceover, they can try and sound like a celebrity. I think be really wary of that.
Yeah, definitely. And a lot of celebrities are going through like lawsuits with AI and all that. Because what was the there's that app that there was just around celebrities and, you know, people using their imagery for all these different things. And yeah, there's so much going on with that because absolutely, I don't want my face being used without my permission. I don't want my voice being taken away. Like I didn't consent to that.
No, and they didn't consent to that either.
No.
And so I think if you are going to use like a voiceover AI, go with the one that does sound like a robot, because then you're not trying to rip off like somebody else who could be earning a living. But I think, once again, it's that go back to the morals and the why and, you know, the ethics of your business and your brand, and make sure that these things align. And as much as you maybe don't like your own voice for voiceover, I personally think it's going to be better than using the AI one. Or find somebody who is in your circle who can maybe do that for you and provide. And there are a lot of people who they do voiceover work. It's an industry.
Yeah, no, it is definitely an industry. And also, you always hate the sound of most people hate the sound of their own voice the first few times, and then you just kind of get over it.
Yeah, you get used to it. I mean, I've had to learn to listen to my voice because I'm the one who edits these podcasts. Do I like the sound of my own voice? No. Does it irritate me as much now as it did when I first started doing the editing? No. I find it less irritating.
Yeah, you just kind of get over it. It's the same with being on camera. You do it a few times, and then you just get over it.
It becomes part of your regular process.
Yeah.
And so it no longer scares you in the same way. So it's like anything that you start when you're doing something new. The new and unknown is scary. Yeah. And I'm not going to take away from that. I'm not going to minimize it. Yes, new and unknown is scary. But the more you do something, the more comfortable you get with it, the more competent you become. It's a skill that you practice and a thing that you learn. And that's the same for like also the way that you would use these tools. Is the more that you play with them, the more you spend time in these different areas, the more you're going to learn, the more you're going to learn what works well for you, the more you're going to learn what features you like, and the more you're going to learn how to use it in a way that aligns with your ethics and your morals and your expectations for business.
Yeah, and it's also, if it is AI, it learns from you. So it's going to learn what you like, and it will remember that, and it will, you know, continue to do things like, especially text-based, it's going to remember everything that you said before, what you did like, what you didn't like, and hopefully that tone of voice will be able to develop and become more like your true tone of voice, and you won't have to say like, make this more quirky and fun, you know, it will know that your tone of voice you like is the quirky fun.
Yeah, and I think one of the things that I think AI can be really useful for is that time-saving element that we've talked about. You know, there are great ways that you can use this in terms of things like an automatic response generator. And so you've got that sort of thing set up for some of our accounts, don't you?
Yeah, definitely. I think automated responses are really important. And then you can trigger it for like different words. So, you know, I want to become a stall holder. That will automatically trigger a response to send a link to signing up to our database and, you know, creating a profile on the Market Life portal. Things like that. So and that's going to save so much admin time. And a lot of these responses are coming through in the weekend, you know, when we're either at events or having time off. Having a weekend.
Days off are important.
So setting those up so that you can have a life is really important.
Yes. And it's also really important, and we touched on this the last time that you came onto the podcast and chatted, so that people do get a response from you instead of weeks going by without you remembering to go and check and get a response. You know, and you can set these things up so it's like, hey, you know, we don't look at this very often, or you know, we respond on certain days of the week, or, you know, these are our standard hours, and this is the best way to get in touch with us. And so, you know, you're not annoying people by not having a response.
Yeah, and it also goes back to that tone is sometimes, you know, maybe when you are checking it, maybe you're getting some messages or inquiries that are like a bit frustrating, you know, some people not reading your post correctly and asking the same questions over and over and over again. And you can
I feel like this is a really common thread in your life.
And it's just like you don't have the patience to respond you know, in the most polite, professional manner. So if you have an AI tool that automatically does that for you, that doesn't lose its patience. You know, AI doesn't lose its patience.
No.
But I do, so.
Yeah. So we gotta be mindful that Renee doesn't go off on people for don't read things. Not that you ever would, I'm sure.
No.
Yeah. So I think in this creative small business sphere, we do also need to touch on like concerns that creative businesses have about AI taking away their jobs. Is that something that you think people really do need to be afraid of?
No, I don't think, particularly in the creative space, it is something that people need to be worried about. I think there was a lot of, you know, fear-mongering happening, but your creativity, your personality, and all those things cannot be replicated. And also, I think it's also just making people value it more. There is this like AI ick kind of feeling. People are wanting to go back to human connection and just that the importance and the value of handmade, of artists, of spending time on actually creating things. That's what people are caring about right now. You look at what, you know, the events that are popping up, this whole like hobby trends and things like that. It's because people want to have those slow moments instead of all this time that's so focused online and AI and this world that, you know, is exhausting and creates fear, and people want to escape from it. So I don't think that you should be worried at all if you are an artist or a creative. Because the right people still value that, if not even more now.
Yeah, definitely. I think, you know, the people who are more likely to go and get AI generated art are probably not people who would have been your ideal client in the first place. I think you've absolutely hit the nail on the head there in terms of the people who are your ideal client are more likely to go and find you now as a form of resistance to the AI that's coming out. You know, we're more, I say we, I am this person, you know, I'm never going to be somebody who puts AI art up in my home. I am never going to be somebody who wants like that AI generated content to put on our promotional materials or packaging or anything like that. So, you know, the people who were your ideal client before AI are still going to be there as your ideal client.
Yeah, absolutely. And I even believe that more people are kind of, now that there's so much education around it, people are more conscious of it and flipping the other way because, you know, like you don't want to, like, do you want to walk into someone's house and they have the exact same photo on their walls as every other person in their house? No.
And I think a really good example of this as well now, so I'm a pretty avid reader. I do a lot of reading, and I'm in reading groups on Facebook, like for book suggestions or people who are like, oh, I read this story once and I don't remember who it was by or what it was. Like, can somebody help me find this book? And the masses in this space, they're very good at hunting down these books, but you do see a lot of those like AI generated ads that have essentially stolen the plot from another book, and they use it to generate an ad to try and get you onto those like pay per chapter sites. And you know what everybody in the reading community does? They take a screen grab and they go, this book has been stolen from somewhere else, don't go read it. This is the original. This is where you can go and find it. And you're also now finding that there are like stories that are being generated by AI and people are trying to get them published. And everybody in the community who values like the indie authors and, you know, supporting genuine people, they will... It kind of seems a little bit like virtue signaling, but like they do in fact go out and go, hey, this is AI, don't go support this thing, don't go support that thing, because the people who value that, they still value it, and so they make sure to tell others in their community who hold those same values, don't go support this other thing.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's the same with artists. You know, we will get messages saying like, oh, I think this person is using AI, just FYI, blah, 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 and then we go and investigate it. You know, there is, you know, we make an effort because it aligns with our values to make sure that if anyone that we would accept on market, or, you know, anyone who does create art, create products, to make sure that they are genuine. And if somebody does, you know, say that they saw something that was, you know, they think was mass produced or whatever it is, we do go and investigate that, because that's important. That is part of our morals, and that's part of like the ethos of the business.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think this leads really nicely into that question of like ethics and authenticity. So I think it's really important that if you are going to, like we mentioned before, if you are going to use these AI tools, they are there as a tool. They are not there for you to just copy paste into other areas of your life without going through and reading things yourself and making those decisions in an informed and educated way. In terms of transparency, where do you think it is appropriate to disclose that you use AI?
I think if you are creating a social media post that is maybe not, so maybe like let's say it's an artist and they're doing a picture and it's on, you know, a wall. I don't think you necessarily need to say like, oh, the wall's AI, because people kind of know. But if it's in a way that's unexpected, or even if you just feel like, or like, you know, you can just feel it. You're like, I just want to disclose this, or and you can make it like a bit, you can play on the personality around it, you know, be like, this is, I would, you know, I can't think of an example right now, but.
Can you believe that AI came up with this caption?
Yeah, or something like that, or, you know, with imagery, obviously maybe you can't bring your product to the top of like a particular mountain or something, but you wanted to have a picture of it on the mountain. You're like, you know, this is an example of if I could hike up to the top of this mountain and show my product, this is what it looked like, you know, something that is not possible. Yeah. But you want people to know that you're like playing on it, you know? Be transparent about it.
Yeah, and you know, there are always going to be risks of things like plagiarism when you are using AI if you don't go through that process of like idea generation on your own, or refining things on your own, because as we mentioned before, you don't necessarily know where AI is pulling information from and whether or not they're taking like a direct copy and paste from somewhere else. So I think it's just really important to be very conscious of the way that you use any tool or software, whether it's AI or if it's something else. Just be really cautious. And then, you know, if you're unsure, if you don't know whether or not something's going to work or align morally, use somebody as a sounding board to get their thoughts on it. Like, you know, particularly if you are using some of these like graphic generating things as like a tool in your social media or to help you refine ideas. If you have gotten to a point where like, I think I like this and I think I want to use this, then go take that to someone else before you actually put it out in the world and go, hey, how does this make you feel? And if I was to use this in my business, how would that make you feel about my business?
Yeah, definitely.
So if people wanted to get started without being super overwhelmed, what would be some advice that you would give them?
I think if it's your first time using any kind of AI tool, I mean, ChatGPT, just do the free version, is a great way to start. And just put in, maybe it is generating, you have an idea and it's like, elaborate on this idea and give me 10 more options, and just like look at them and just see. Maybe don't use them. Maybe you can say like, this is my image I want to create, or maybe you want an idea of like a social media scheduling plan, and you just say like, this is my goal, this is like what I want to achieve. It's really important you give it a goal, because otherwise it's just going to spit out what it's assuming that you want, and it doesn't know. It's just going to pull that information from somewhere else that is not you. So making sure you say like what your business is, how many posts that you want per week, what your goal is, and get some ideas. And then from there, you don't have to post them. Maybe just see what that looks like. And then maybe that will start more ideas for you.
I think that's a great way to do it, is that you use it as a way to help spark further ideas and thoughts of your own.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I think we've talked a lot. And we've come to the end of the episode. You know, like anything, this space, it'll continue to evolve and change. And I'm sure we'll need to revisit this discussion in the future. But if anyone has any thoughts or ideas, instances where they've used AIs in ways that we've maybe not spoken about, and they would like to let others know, drop a note to us, let us know, and we can share it with everyone else. Otherwise, it's time for our Creative Business Spotlight. So who are we going to give a shout out to this week, Renee?
I would like to give a shout out to a business called Earthbound. It is a lovely girl who came into one of our Perth Makers markets. I think it might have been the end of last year I noticed her for the first time. And she creates like beachwear made out of kind of like toweling material. And she hand makes it herself and does like little dresses and shorts. I've seen that sort of thing more for children, but like for, you know, adults and things. And she really focuses on sustainability and natural fibers, which I think is so important. One thing that I want to do better at, definitely not there yet, but is I want to be more conscious of the fibers that my clothing is made from. You know, we have so much plastics and, you know, like your clothing breaks down a tiny bit when it's plastic constantly. So you're literally just like shedding plastic everywhere. Yeah, in your washing machine, everything else. So I really liked that. That is like a focus for her within her brand.
Amazing. So we'll include a link in the show notes so you can go and check out Earthbound. Otherwise, thank you for coming and chatting to me about AI, Renee. And we hope you found this an interesting topic to listen to. And we'll catch everyone next time. Bye.
Bye.
Thanks for joining us this week on the Creative Business Community Podcast. Don't forget to subscribe so you never miss an episode and join our community online. Until next time, keep creating, keep learning, and keep building that business you love.